Hello. In our latest episode of Ladies First Not Really, I had the pleasure of interviewing Ruth Hall Andrew Hairfield, who was born in 1937 here in Spotsylvania. This is a two-part series interview with Ruth and her daughter Donna. I hope you enjoy.
I was born in 1937.
Okay. And you were born here in
In
Spotsylvania?
Spotsylvania. Oh, yeah, definitely Spotsylvania.
Okay. Where were you born?
When I was born, of course, I was born in Mary Washington Hospital on Falkirk Street,
Okay.
the old one. And I think my parents had just moved. They had lived at Parker in what's now Park Service. My grandfather had a farm there, and they lived in the tenant house. And when my sister was born, they were still living there. But I think when I was born, they had moved to what is now Harrison Crossing in the very southwest portion of it, of that on the north side of Route 3. Uh, we rented a house. It was called the Bacardi House. We rented it from them. They were living at that time with her daughter, Marion Osborne, who lived also on what is now the Harrison Crossing Shopping Center.
It's about where Home Depot is.
Okay.
We lived closer really to the highway than.
Okay.
I think the house was torn down when they four-laned Route 3 out this way. It was a big old house, very interesting. And then when of course, we didn't have running water. I don't think we had electricity in that house because I remember having lamps. We used lamps there. In fact, we used lamps when we moved out further up on Route 3 when I was 6 years old.
Oh,
But we used to walk everywhere on Route 3. When we moved away, I was 6 years old. I had my 7th birthday about that time. And my sister and I walked all over that Harrison Crossing area all the time. Thought nothing of it. Nothing of it.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
and then went over to Old Plank Road. We had friends that lived on Old Plank Road. We would walk up to their house. And I think we would go further up Harrison. There was a pharmacist that lives up there, and I remember going to his house to see. There weren't that many children around. If you were going to play with children, you had to find them. And of course, my sister's best friend all through school at that time lived where Publix is now. And so we walked up there all the time.
Oh my goodness. Is it the house that they demolished to put
That
Publix
house is
in?
long been.
It was before that house? Okay.
Yeah, because that Dickens's house.
Dickens.
The house that you were born in is where Home Depot Shopping Center is now?
It's in that shop.
that
Yeah,
area? Okay.
towards Route 3 from further up this way than Wendy's, right in front of Home Depot in the back crop.
Oh my goodness.
But they had to tear that house down when they four-laned Route 3.
Oh,
So it was very close to the highway.
oh my goodness.
And then when I was 6 years, or about the time of my 7th birthday, we went to school at Chancellor, of course. It was a new school. It was built in 1937, so it was still fairly new. And at that time, and we didn't have lunch served, of course. Finally, a couple ladies, of Mrs. Smith and her mother, I can't think of her mother's name, used to come in and make soup to sell. And I don't remember when that started and when it stopped, but mostly we just carried out lunches. We were poor people. I mean, we were country people. That was country back then.
Yeah.
And my father, if the car wouldn't start, there was a big hill there. If you notice when you go up Route 3, you can feel the car pulling some gas because it was a big hill at one time. And so if the car wouldn't start, Daddy would just turn it down and go down that little hill and it would start. And he worked, I guess, about the time I was born, he went to work for FMC. Before that, he worked for the CCC camps.
Oh, okay.
And, they did a lot of building the Shenandoah Park in the area. And then he went to work at FMC. About the time I was born, I think.
Oh, I know.
At that time, it was the Sylvania Plant. Places you could get a job.
Oh, yes.
So we moved up there, and we still, as I said, Daddy bought a piece of property. His parents had died, and so with his inheritance, he bought a piece of property, but the house wasn't a whole lot.
Acres on Route 3.
But it
Imagine.
went back. It was not all around Route 3. But that's how we grew up. With Daddy would sell a piece of property if he needed money, and get enough money to keep things going for us. But we lived in a room house. The house had 2 halls, but by the time we moved out, it was 7 of us halls plus the 2 halls. And we did put in Daddy did put in running water, so we had running water there. Of course, Daddy always had a big garden. So and
And
Mama,
an outhouse.
yeah, we always we had an outhouse. We did not have indoor plumbing. And in fact, when we were before we built the house that did have indoor plumbing, he put a barrel up. We had pretty secluded area back behind the house. We had a barn and we had pig pen, and between them and there were some fruit trees that were already there when he bought the property, and it was very secluded. And so he put a barrel.
Oh, okay.
Her parents' house.
Yeah, discount tires.
Oh,
That's where the house that he built was. We lived back behind there. And
okay.
then further back, uh, he put up a barrel, and I think he put up a shower curtain. And so the sun would warm during the summertime. The sun would warm the water in the barrel, and we would take showers. And it was a good childhood. We had a horse, and we had a cow, and we had, as I said, we always had pigs. Always kill the pigs during measles or whatever us kids got while we were sick in the house. That's about the time we had to kill the cows or the pigs or whatever. And we had to stay in the house. What else?
So they ended up, I don't know if you caught it, but ended up being 5 of them. So she's the second of 5 kids.
Okay.
And
She had 2 little brothers and the little sister.
well, Brian was born while we lived in the McCarty house. And then after we moved to the White House, then Hope was born not too long after that. She was born in 1945. And then I have a brother who was born in 1951, so he's much younger. And right about the time he was born was when Daddy was building a brick house in front where the Discount Auto Parts is now.
Okay.
And I'm Discount Tire. And so we moved there. In fact, Daddy had sold some lumber in the back from the woods back behind us. And the trucks, of course, had put big ruts in the road because it was just a dirt road. And he had gone to milk the cow in the morning and came home crawling because he'd broken his leg.
Oh, my goodness.
And so while he was in the hospital with a broken leg, the neighbors all got together and moved us into the new house.
Oh,
So he went to the hospital in one house and came home. We were in a different house.
oh, poor guy.
But anyway,
You had to milk the cows, right? When you were kids? Y'all had to take turns.
No, Gladys did all the milking.
Okay.
We did. I don't know if she liked it or what, but I never did. And I never did milk a cow.
You never did.
No,
She did it
no.
all.
But Gladys milk. I mean, if Daddy was working shift work, and Mama, I guess Mama could have done it, but she had all these kids to look after.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Did you drink the milk raw?
what very often, because my mother was legally blind. She could see, but she did not have much sight. But she could get every piece of cream off of milk.
Oh,
People talk about skim milk. We had skim milk because she got all the cream off of it. And one of my jobs was making butter. I did make butter, yeah. Um, and we sold butter to a Mrs. Tech that lived across the highway from us, and then she would sell us eggs. So
oh,
we had something going there. Um, what else? You said something about my jobs.
Yeah.
What I
I
had
thought it'd
done.
be interesting to see what kind of jobs
Oh,
she
yeah.
had.
My first job, out of, uh, other than taking care of my brothers and sisters and canning and that type of thing, was babysitting one year when I was about 14. I was saving at that time for my class ring when I graduated from high school.
Oh,
And I think that ring cost like $25, $30. And I had a job across the road taking care, and I don't remember, it was 3 or 4 children, and the lady was having another baby.
Mm.
And so of course, while she was in the hospital, I took care of her during the day, and then I helped her out, and probably for most of the summer. And so when the summer was over and the work was over, they offered me $25.
wow.
And I read the other day that $25 an hour is going for babysitting one child. Kind of enjoyed it, and I don't remember. They paid me a little bit more than that before when it was over with, but it was just a whole different world back then. And they lived on a farm, but about a mile away down this road. It was, they didn't live on the highway, but it was kind of fun. And then
Did you walk there?
no, that I think he came and got me because he was a farmer, so he farmed with his dad. Um, and then the next job when I got out of high school, and then I worked at Grant for a while. I worked at uh, not Woolworth, Newberry. Worked Newberry 1 year at Christmas time, and then I worked at Grant. Then out of high school, I worked for a news agency, and what we did was wholesaled magazines to businesses, and then the magazines would come back if they weren't sold. Then I would have to tear the covers off to send the covers back to the uh, publishers so we could get our money back for the ones we paid for. But finally, I was able to get a job. At that time, it was FMC, I think, and in the book accounting department. And I
Okay.
worked there until Donna was born. And back then, too, uh, I got married, got pregnant, and at you weren't supposed to work but about 3 months after you got pregnant. So by the time you start
Oh
feeling
my
good again,
goodness.
then you you got to
You
stay
gotta stay at home.
really needed the money. That was too bad. And they let me stay a little bit longer, and I can't remember. I guess because they didn't find anybody to replace me or something. But I didn't work very long after that.
That's incredible to just not even have the option to work if you wanted to. They're just like, no, you got to stay at home. Oh my goodness.
And I was perfectly healthy. I was going to tell the tale. Years later, when my son was young, he went to work in Switzerland for a year. And while he was working there, took his son. He had 2 children. He was divorced. He had 2 children. And so his daughter was handicapped, but his son and I went to Switzerland to see him there. And then the girls, my daughters, each went and stayed 2 weeks too. So
Oh, that's fun.
it was a real neat trip. And we were at this old castle, and this lady was starting down the steps. I said, "Take your time coming down the steps. I'm going to stand here and rest while you come down the steps." And she got
That's all
down.
that was said.
Uh,
That's all that was said.
That's all, yeah, that's all I said. I think that's probably exactly how I said it. And she got down the bottom of the steps and she said, "Where are you from in Virginia?" And I told her, and she says, "Well, I work for FMC in California." She says, and she says, "Do you know Llewellyn Graves?" Well, Llewellyn Graves is a distant cousin of mine.
Oh my gosh, what are they? What are they on?
Delighted telling his family.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes a story that I ran into their relative
In Switzerland at a castle. Oh, how funny is that?
I'm on Ancestry, DNA, and whatever, and there was a new match for me named Allison Graves. And Allison Graves is my neighbor. So I texted her and I'm like, "Hey, we're cousins." She's like, "I didn't do a test on Ancestry." She's like, "But there's another Allison Graves in Fredericksburg. I wonder if that's who you're connected to." Sure enough, same family. So,
Oh my gosh.
it was her father. Her father was a Will and Graves that had transferred from the FMC plant here to California.
What a small world. That's a great story. What can you tell me about school, like at Chancellor Elementary, what it was like being there?
Back up a little bit.
That's a big backup. Well, they had my cousin Olive Suda.
No, start with your grandfather.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking about it, and I'm not sure I'm right. But my grandfather was on the school board for Spotsylvania County.
Okay.
And somebody just mentioned not long ago that he was instrumental in building Spotsylvania High School. Well, if he was instrumental, because I think Chancellor was built about the same time. So he probably, as a member of the school board for Spotsylvania County, had something to do with building a lot of these schools that were built about that time in the late 30s.
Her father, grew up in Spotsylvania as well. He was born in 1905 or so.
1907.
And he went to Chancellor School, where the Tabernacle Church is.
Mhm.
There's a community building there. That was the Chancellor School
That was the high
father
school,
went
I
to.
think.
Okay.
It's two buildings there. One was the high school, one was the elementary school. And my aunt even went there. Well, of course, I say my aunt, but my youngest aunt. And then when she graduated from there, and of course, Granddaddy had worked so hard on getting the high school built, then she went to the high school and took a postgraduate course there so she could
Oh
go
my
to
goodness.
Spotsylvania High School.
Oh, what was your grandfather's name?
He was John Hall, I think. John.
John.
Yeah. I don't remember him at all. He died when I was about 4 years old. So I remember Grandma vaguely. Um, but schools. I was going to say my cousin, distant cousin of my daddy's, taught a combined first and second grade. But other than that, it was just one class for each grade. So you were in first grade. When I was in school, you had Marguerite Johnson for your first grade teacher, and then possibly. And my understanding was that I only taught those that were having a harder time, but I may be wrong about that. Um, and I don't remember who I had in second grade.
I don't even remember my high school teachers.
um, but
Mm.
when my brother was in second grade, he had a problem speaking, not as as an adult, but as a child. He had problem learning to speak properly, called refrigerator federator. So that was his nickname at school. Was kind of almost bullying, but he laughed about it. So he was hurt one day, and somebody came into the classroom. His federator sister.
How did you get to school?
Rode a bus, honey, that half a mile.
Wow.
Because it's not well, it's a mile I think between those two lights, between the one and Harrison Crossing,
Chancellor
and we
Elementary.
lived a little bit closer than that to the school. Um, but it was 7th grades, and we had a Maypole dance, I remember.
Oh,
And that was about 6th or 7th grade. That was a lot of fun to do. Uh, it was a May Day celebration. We used to have those all the time. It was kind of fun, Chancellor. But it was kind of a fun time. And then of course, when we finished 7th grade, then we went directly to high school. There was not an 8th grade at that time.
oh, okay.
And when my cousin graduated from Chancellor Elementary, and then when he went to Knoxville, Tennessee to live, they had the 8th grade. And they said, which do you want to go in? I don't think he did 8th grade. I think he just went directly to high school. And he happened to be intelligent enough that he was probably the top graduate from high school in Knoxville,
Oh my
Tennessee.
goodness.
But we only had 7 until after Brian, my brother finished. Then I think the next grade had, which would be those that graduated in '58, probably had 8th grade. But we did not have a football team until 1951. And the guys got so upset with the cheerleaders because they didn't know how to cheer. And they would be cheering, pushing back when they wanted to go. Let's see what else about Chancellor. I really can't
You
think.
talked about the cafeteria there wasn't food.
There wasn't food, but yeah, but I can't remember what was name, but Mrs. Smith and her mother came and made soup. And then they would ride the bus in and ride the school.
Did you have PE elementary school?
Oh no, no. We had recesses, but that was it. And one of the girls talks about how she and her friends used to go down and play with the rocks at the edge of the woods. They were kind of city girls. They lived at Sylvania Heights, where
Ooh, that's that's bougie. That's so
but
funny.
we didn't have gardens or anything. I mean, we were very dependent on the garden for food. Um,
Did the school have electricity when you were
yeah.
there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a very nice school. It really
Okay.
was.
Water
But
and
it was,
sewer?
huh?
Water and indoor plumbing?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. And it was built in 1937. The year I was born, so it's pretty up to date. Um, Now the church did not.
Oh,
You had to go to if you were at church and needed to go to the bathroom, you had to go to the outhouse, which was across the road, across the Salem Church Road from the, yeah.
Salem Baptist Church.
Okay, I was
And
gonna ask that. Yep.
and that, of course, is an old church. It was built 1848, maybe. When it was built, they had separate door for the black people, and they could go directly upstairs and not have to associate with the white people, of course. They had a different door. The men came in one door and the women in another. Uh, we had a mouse. If we went to Sunday night service, the mouse would come out and look at us and check things out. Always looked for him.
Aw.
So he came on Sunday morning when he was there usually. And then later on, when we had an organ installed at the church and realized that upstairs was in not very good condition. I guess that's when they really started thinking about building and enlarging or doing. We needed to do something. And we ended up, of course, with the nice new church that the members worked very hard to build. Um,
Her sister was the first person to get married in the New Salem Baptist.
I was the third. Carolyn was
Oh, okay.
I was third.
What year was it built?
It was
The
built
newer
in
building?
1954.
54.
It was opened for services in 1950, April of 55, and my sister, her husband came home overseas, and they got married
Oh, wow.
about that time. So she was the first, and as I say, I was the third.
So you went to Spotsylvania High School
Yeah,
after that, and that's at the or the Marshall Center, right? Is that where that
Yeah,
was at the
that's the
time?
Marshall Center now. Because Donna says, "Well, Mama, what did y'all do here?" I said, "This wasn't here. It's a very much smaller than it was now." There again, we were country church school, very small. The guys that played ball had to walk home in the afternoon, and sometimes it was a long walk.
How many were in your graduating class?
87,
Wow.
and that was all that graduated that year was all the whites, and of course the blacks had. By that time, J.J. Wright had been built. I don't know what year they opened, but it was during the time I was in high school, I think.
Okay.
Up until then, they had very substandard schools.
Well, do you remember when the schools became integrated?
68, yeah. We were living in Florida at the time. And at that time in the school they went to in Florida, we had people who helped. We had a clinic, and I would go and help in the clinic. So I was there right much that first year. And it was just very interesting, but it was a very difficult time. And I think probably more difficult here. When we came here in 1969, my younger daughter, Kathy, was in fifth grade at Chancellor, and she had a black teacher. And I don't know how the woman was able to accomplish anything because there was so much discrimination.
Mm.
And
We came back the first year of integration, and it was, we grew up with blacks in our schools down in Florida. Up here, it was a huge deal. So,
yeah, because she had a black teacher. When did she teach? I don't remember. No, in fifth or sixth grade. That was the first year of integration. And I don't think she ever had any problem. I mean, that.
I never remember any problems with blacks.
No, she was a delightful person. But when we came here, it was just totally different. Um, there was not the respect that needed to be made for teachers. Very difficult for that teacher. But of course, when I was in school, it was never a problem because they were completely segregated.
Right.
Completely. I mean,
It just was that way.
it just. In fact, I remember when I lived up here at Carson Crossing, Mama wanted us to take the money. Evidently, a black woman that lived back near Riverview High had done some work for Mama, and she wanted us, my sister and I, to take the money to her. And I said, "Oh, can we stay and play?" And she had to tell me, the little white child. So that's the way we were brought up. It's good that we made the changes, but the changes have been very difficult, I think.
Did you have homecoming and proms and?
Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of that, but we didn't have homecoming. We didn't have football until 1951. In fact, my sister's graduating class, so it may have been 50, because I think her class had football in it. But my class was the big football. I had the class with all the baseball players. And I took history with them. It was a lot of fun. And the teacher was a fairly young teacher and single. So I think everybody enjoyed the class. It was interesting.
What year did you graduate?
54.
54. Okay. And then after that you got married, or what did you do after graduation?
I worked at the news agency for a while and went to work at FMC. And then my husband worked with this lady that I went to church with. And so she got us together. And we got married in January of 56. And then started our family.
October of 56.
I guess so. I know you were really young, but during World War II, right? Do you remember anything that impacted your family directly, or any memories of that time? I know you were really young.
I remember that there were times that we were not allowed to let any light out of our windows. And at night, we would have what they call blackouts. And so we could not we had to keep things completely black. Kids don't realize, we've always lived in times that there were rumors of war.
Mhm.
And so even after World War II, then the Korean War came. And so there was always this fear that we would be bombed, because it was a fear. And during the Second World War, that they would, in fact, I think it's been proven that the Germans were in the area, I mean, in the country on the East Coast. So there was always a fear. And of course, we had rationing, and you only got so many stamps and could only, and that was the big thing when the war ended, was you could go buy something with sugar in it. You could go to the store and get a Big Town, uh, and you could buy. I've heard some of the gospel singers say that they could buy gas again, because you couldn't buy so much stuff because of rationing.
Mhm.
So it was a
How
difficult time
how old would you have been?
in '45. But I can definitely remember what it was like living during that time. It was a difficult time.
Wow. Did any of your family members go serve?
Uncles, daddy, of course, daddy wasn't in health and had children, but I had several uncles that served. I had lost an uncle, and it really wasn't during the war. I think it was during the influenza epidemic
Mm.
that my oldest uncle died, daddy's oldest brother.
1918.
But in the Second World War, I had several uncles that were over there, and it was different from war today. I mean, you you had this real thin paper you had to write on, and you knew that people might read what you wrote, because they had to be sure of what was being said. But and once they went over there, they were there. It was difficult traveling, because it wasn't that many airplanes. Most people I knew during that time traveled by boat.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know how my uncles did. I was too young to be aware. But I can remember when they came.
And they all made it back?
Yeah, they all came back, all of them.
Okay. How about the Korean War? Because that would have been around the time you got married, right?
Right. And I didn't know that many people that were in service. But speaking of that time period, uh, my of course, her dad is my first husband. He died in 1969. That's why we came back here. And he worked for the Department of the Army. I went to work for them in 1956, I think, the year she was born. And a lot of what he did during or during the time he worked for the Army, he was checking microwave towers,
Oh.
because they knew that the Russians were probably going to close off a part of Germany, and they wanted to be able to communicate between the sections of Germany that were free. And so we started out, we went to New York City, and he had a partner that went to Philadelphia, trying to get good good communication set up between the two. And then we moved to Fort Lee, Virginia, and they were trying to get good communication set up between Fort Lee and Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Wow.
And to think how much that has expanded and how
Yeah, that's the beginning of
communication is
Right.
today.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to think that back in 1956, 57, 58, that's what he was doing. That's what we were doing. He also uh, went to Korea before her sister was born, when she was a baby. Yeah, he went there in '57, and they put the TV station in Korea, which
Oh.
today is a big spot to
Yeah.
go to if you
Oh.
go to Korea.
Oh.
You've got to go to the TV station.
Goodness.
My son went there several years ago. Had a niece. My niece worked for State Department, and he went to see her. I always gave her a hard time about it. the fact that my husband had put in the TVs.
Then after Kathy was born, he decided he wanted to go help land man on the moon. So this is now 1958. So he moved my mother, who was 23 with 2 babies, to a place called the Mosquito Lagoon in Florida.
Oh.
Literally.
Oh, no.
In a trailer. So we lived in a trailer, Mosquito
Well, we
Lagoon.
had bought the trailer because we were moving around so much, and we wanted something that was more permanent for us to live in when we went, because he would go to these places and stay 3 months, 6 months or something. And in order to be together, then that's what we had to do. So we bought the trailer, and then right after we bought the trailer, before we even moved in, he got the job in Florida, working in the space industry.
Wow, that's
From
cool.
the beginning.
Yeah. We were talking about landing man on the moon again or whatever. And I said, well, I can tell you one thing, because we're living in Mosquito Lagoon, eventually everybody had to move away from there.
We're about probably 8 miles from the launch pad, so really close to
Oh,
So
neat.
when the monkey went up the first time, that trailer shook greatly.
Oh, that's so neat. Oh.
The other thing I thought would be interesting is like where they shopped, like grocery stores, dime stores.
I wish they had the same stores then that we had then.
So they lived out here on Route 3, and they went to the A&P downtown Fredericksburg. That was the closest grocery store.
Oh, the
It
closest
was
store?
on
I know, you every like 2 miles now.
but it was, and the A&P and the Safeway, the main stores in town, and they were across the road across Route 3, across William Street from each other. And I know at one point, and they don't anymore, Pate's Realty was in the Safeway building, but they were there in that block, just down the next block, I think, from Sedona. So, yeah, I mean, you went to the grocery store once a week, and that was it. You didn't.
And then pop into Giant to get a loaf of bread.
All the shopping was
Condensed it is.
downtown. I mean, you went to Woolworths or Newberry's or Grant's were the major stores, and Spotless was more like a hardware. And of course, Fredericksburg Hardware has been there forever. But you went to town on Saturday morning. We did not. I think we shopped. I don't know. Daddy worked shift work, so we just shopped whenever he was home and just went downtown whenever. When I worked downtown, because I worked at Grants when I was in high school, and I would ride the bus. Then you could get permission to ride. There was a bus that went from Spotsylvania High School to Sylvania Heights.
Oh.
So they came through town. It was the only way to go. I mean, with Courthouse Road and came around that way. And so I would ride that bus into town so I could go to work. So I just had to have a way home from work that way. So I rode with somebody that worked in town.
Okay.
Some of the merchants. So
Because transportation was,
it was a big issue back then. And the only bus service that we had was the Sylvania Plant bus. And there was a lady that lived at 5 Mile Fork that it's a shame you can't interview her. I mean, she died years ago, but she could really tell stories of her growing up years. But she went to work at the plant, got a job at the plant. She would not ride that plant bus because you could pay and ride it. And I don't know if the people that worked at the plant paid or not. But she said that when she got her job there, then she could ride that bus home. Other than that, she walked 5 Mile Fork to the plant.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Determined.
She grew up in a time when they blackboard type things that they did their homework. She did her homework there.
Oh, like on the slate boards?
Yeah.
Oh.
And she said one time somebody erased something off of it or something. And I think she took care of them. And if you bought something, then they would have to send the money to the office, and then they would send you your change back.
Oh,
I
through
think Woolworths was down there.
Mhm.
Woolworths was downtown.
Woolworths.
Yeah, they moved. I can't remember when, and Grants did too, because Grants was further towards the railroad track, about a block away, and they moved to where they are, and then Woolworth ended up across the street from Grants,
Right. That's what I
and
remember.
a bigger building.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
And then Leggett's eventually came to town too.
Yeah.
Leggett. Oh man.
Like the Pulse's store and Hudson's Market. Did you have those back when you were growing up?
We didn't, honey, we didn't have money to go. Folks' store.
Because they used to have these community markets in the neighborhoods. I remember Foltz's store is 5 Mile Fork where Meadows Nursery is, and Hudson's Market. And, it was a great place to go hang out and pick up literally penny candy.
If you are looking to connect to your ancestry or own a historic property and have always wondered its history, or maybe you know the history and would like it to be highlighted on one of our podcasts, please visit us at dogwoodandironresearch.com.